And one of the things that she was laying across me and we were talking. And I just remember being in my head and I'm saying, man, I'm about to kiss this girl. Literally, as I'm thinking about this, she looks up to me and I thought it was the moment. Because she looked up and so I'm like, I'm about to kiss her. Facts. And literally she looks up and she said, I gotta tell you something.
I gotta tell you something. I'm not kissing until I get married.
Look, it's me and you against the world, girl, and I ain't talking slick. Others may have said it, but they worldview was midget. That means it wasn't big enough for what life would experience.
Listen, man, welcome back to Tanks Talk Podcast, man. We are talking everything relationships, everything marriage, man. We are sharing our journey with you guys and hoping that in sharing our journey, man, there are nuggets that you pick up that would help you in your relationships. And we're just really starting off real light. We feel like before you guys will trust us with giving you nuggets and information, y'all want to know who we are first.
We got to build rapport.
Yeah, why should we listen to them? Yeah. Right? And I promise y'all want to listen to us. We told you guys in episode 1, we came back from our honeymoon and asked for a divorce. And here we are celebrating this year 10 years of being married. That being married, that means we had to get there. And so that means we have life lessons. We've overcome quite a lot. We've had to deal with blended family, loss, lack of love,
decrease in income, layoffs, identity stuff.
We've had a lot.
Yeah.
Sex.
Yeah. That's what I was about to say.
Yeah, we've got a lot. And here we are, healthy though, thriving in our marriage because of the things that we've learned along the way. Absolutely. And we have helped a lot of couples in their marriage.
Yeah, shout out to that.
Shout out to God.
Yep, for sure.
So listen, man, last episode, we just kind of talked about how we met. And we told you guys that we were going to talk about like our dating life. And so we're going to talk a little bit about what was it like to date with the intentionality that we talked about in the beginning of saying, hey, I'm only trying to get married. And so if that's not what we working towards, this ain't going to work. And we agreed
that we were moving towards marriage from the moment we started dating.
Yeah. You remember our first date?
At Chipotle?
Nope,
I don't remember our first date.
Dang, that's cool because you asked me about, and I was like, I don't remember our first kiss.
Facts. There you go. Yeah. No, not our first kiss. I do remember our first kiss. The first time you said I love you.
Our first kiss was actually at the altar. We did not kiss each other until we got married.
Until we said I do.
Until we said I do. So our first date was I took you to see my mama.
Yep.
Hey, talk about intentionality.
Facts. Now that you say it that way, that's exactly wow.
That's cool though. And then, but you don't think that was a date? So our first date though would have been.
But we did spend, even though that wasn't our first date, in the parking lot in the car, we did have some very, very good conversations that night. We talked for like 2-3 hours.
Yeah, about life.
And I wouldn't let you in my apartment because we don't do that.
Yeah, I don't say it like that. Like I also wasn't trying to come in your apartment.
Facts, my bad. Yeah, I wasn't trying to.
Don't make it like you.
My bad.
But then our first actual, what we would call a date, I guess, would have actually been racquetball
in Chipotle.
What was the rec center? Sterling?
No, the one on the west side. Michael Zong.
Yeah, we did racquetball there. You introduced me to that. And then after that, we went to get Chipotle, and we literally sat in your car, eating Chipotle. You laying across me. We don't advise people to. Yeah, remember you was laying across me. Yep, you was laying across me, violated me.
I would not advise anyone to do that.
But we were in the car, and we started beginning to have conversations then as well about what it means like to date, our future. At that time, I was like not making a lot of money. I was working 2 jobs, but wasn't making a lot of money. I had moved back home with my dad, and I just remember
he was down bad.
I was down bad at that time. And one of the things that she was laying across me and we were talking, and I just remember being in my head and I'm saying, man, I'm about to kiss this girl.
Oh yeah, I remember.
And,
I don't remember that part. I remember the story.
And literally, God had me so good. Like, God be looking out.
He did.
God had me so good.
He
As
stopped you from
I'm
getting
thinking,
played.
facts. It's almost like the story like where Abraham, when he was going to give his wife away to the king.
Oh, yeah.
And God hit him in the dream like, you better not touch that woman.
Yeah.
Literally, as I'm thinking about this, she looks up to me, and I thought it was the moment. Because she looked up, and so I'm like, I'm about to kiss her.
Facts.
And literally she looks up and she said, I gotta tell you something.
I gotta tell you something. I'm not kissing until I get married. Legit.
And I was just like, I was just like, all right, cool. Like, I never really tripped up. Like, none of that stuff mattered to me anyway. I was just like, all right, cool. But I was like, God just looked out because I was going to get hit with the swerve.
You were. You would have.
And
Shout out to God.
That was kind of like the first conversation that we had around purity. Obviously, I knew that you were a virgin. Yeah. But I didn't know the extent of what you did to protect your virginity.
And the reason why, just for context, that I wasn't kissing until I got married, because I recognized in my previous dating relationships that kissing did end up leading to other things that just wasn't actual sex and intercourse, the way we talk about it. And so I was like, yo, if I really want to maintain sexual integrity and honor God, then I need to refrain from that as well. So
yeah. And the sex conversation was easy because I was already at that point 2.5 years celibate. And I wasn't trying to have sex either. So that was actually a relief, like to know like you wasn't on that. I'm like, and I wasn't on it. It was like, okay, we don't even got to deal with that level of temptation. So we agreed, we good
ain't
there.
Doing it.
All right, cool. But like I said, I wasn't clear on. I didn't know the extent of what she would do to protect her purity, and so. She hit me with that, and I was like, cool, that's cool. That was a boundary conversation.
It was.
Right? And we had a lot of boundary conversations because you have to if you want to date intentionally with the goal to get to the finish line the right way.
Correct. Yeah, and I was just going to say, and that's one of them conversations that is good to have early on. Like, if you're pursuing marriage, deal with the awkwardness of where we are guarding ourselves regarding our sexual integrity. What it is I can't do. And again, your boundaries, we said in the last episode, but like your boundaries that you have for yourself, they can never be too much for you to maintain your purity or your integrity when it comes to your walk with God. So if he would have been like, oh, no, that ain't cool for me, then we would have had to have a conversation, and I would have had to discern, is this the person for me? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that would have been probably the first sign of being like, all right, because remember, we're trying to see if we going to get, it's like, well, wait a minute, if this dude can't respect my boundaries, clearly this ain't somebody, I shouldn't adjust my boundaries for him. The person that God has for me is going to respect the boundaries that I have. And I actually tell that with a lot of, when they, people that are thinking about dating, they come into relationships and they come talk to us, I literally say that, right? I was like, yo, if this person won't respect your boundaries, leave them.
Right.
Because that's part of honoring one another, right? Because we brothers and sisters in Christ first. And so I want to honor your virginity. You want to honor my virginity. I want to honor your boundaries. You want to honor my boundaries. And so we had those conversations. That was part of the intentionality of dating. Have boundary conversations.
Absolutely.
As uncomfortable as they could be.
As uncomfortable as they can be. That one didn't feel uncomfortable for us, though. Or at least not in that moment.
Because we was on the same page in that moment.
Facts.
They got harder the more we dated and the closer we got to the finish line. Correct. But at that point, we both we were on the same page and the same level. And that's another important part. Like, I finding out in that dating process, like, are y'all even aligned with values and views? And we quickly learned that we were aligned in a lot of things. Other thing that happened in that conversation was I was looking at her and I said, okay, God, if this, because I threw out a lot of testers to God.
Yes, you
did.
And
I said, God, if this is the person that I'm supposed to marry, you got to do some things. The first thing you got to do is you got to get me a new job, because I can't provide for a family on the type of money that I was making, because I had already lost the other good job. And so now I was working scrap jobs, just trying to survive. Two of them, just trying to survive. One job was literally to pay child support. And the other one was to get food.
Right.
And I remember literally like that weekend, like 2 days later or so, I got a phone call from a job that I had been waiting for a year to try to get into. And after I said that, literally, they get the call saying, "Hey, your name just got pulled. Come in and take the test." And it was actually the young adults, like, y'all helped me study for. I'm like, I don't know no math. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I gotta go, and I ended up taking the test. And then I ended up getting that job, and so like my income shifted significantly to be able to then be able. And so that was like one of those. That was like kind of that first sign for me where I was like, okay, God, I'm asking you, is this the person I'm supposed to be with? Here's some things that have to shift. Yeah. I've been waiting a year to get into this job, and you never got me in there. But the moment it was connected to supporting a family, being able to take care of a family, and believing that it was you that was supposed to be my wife, that happened. And that was like the first thing for me that affirmed in me. Outside of your values, outside of your growth, your love, it was that practical thing that I was like, okay, God, I think then that you're saying that you're the one. Yeah. Did you throw out anything? Mm-mm. You ain't had none?
I was about to say I can't add to that. I was very much like, okay. Like, I don't like that sounds, but I very much, because I appreciated your integrity even then, and the level of intentionality you had in your walk and your discernment, that I was like, all right, cool. Right. Which has helped in many ways in our marriage too, but it's the character that you have. So I was on board because I'm very resolute. So also, if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to work to do that thing. Like, we going to get it done, So
well,
I didn't have any.
I threw out another one.
What was the other one?
The other one I threw out was, I was like, all right, God, if this is somebody you want me to be with, she got to love my kids.
Yeah, I thought that was the one that you was going to lead with.
And so I'm literally praying that. I'm like, God, she got to love my kids. She got to love my kids. And then one day we were on another date and we go to Applebee's.
Facts.
And now we at Applebee's and we're sitting in the booth, and you look up to me, look up at me out of nowhere, and you just like,
I love those girls.
And I was just like, that's it, God. That's the second one. I ain't provoke it. I ain't lead it. You just literally just randomly just said it, and I was like, yeah, this is who I'm supposed to marry. And that's when it was locked in for me at that moment that it was you. Those were like kind of like our dates, and we would go to the park because you like to mean the beach because you like that. The biggest thing that took place though in that time was really just asking real questions. We talked about family life. Like, we sat in the parking lot after the church parking lot outside of Cliff's house for like hours one day, just talking about family history, childhood trauma, things that we went through and experienced, man. And we just grew on a real intimate level of like learning each other's life and understanding each other's life, because we were much different than one another.
we have completely different upbringings. Grew up in completely separate households. Had different high school and collegiate experiences. Different levels of relationships with others. Where our personalities are very different as well. So that time getting to know each other and learn each other in that way, and actually build we were cool even though we started off in different spaces. We were cool at the end of the day, like, you know what I mean? But like really becoming like friends, you know what I mean?
And I think that's important for people to hear and understand, because a lot of times, even when we talk to married couples that did not do premarital counseling, right? But we talk to them later, and when you're listening to the things that create conflict with them, it's always some type of family background, things that are innate to the person just based upon their experience, that were never discussed in the so in the whole dating time, y'all never talked about that. And it was like, a lot of people don't think how you were brought up, being in a single parent household, a 2-family household, where you grew up at, financials, the type of mother that you had, the type of father that you had, siblings. Like, nobody thinks all of that plays a role into what shapes your expectations as a spouse until those unspoken expectations show up. And now you like, whoa, hold up. Why you do that? Why you hold that? You don't do this? Why would I do that? And you may even hear people say like, my mama did that, and I ain't your mama. Right. And it's like, we probably should have talked about this.
No, facts. Because unspoken expectations lead to disappointment.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And so if you have an expectation that, your spouse, your husband, your wife is going to be one way, if you have an expectation that they will or won't do one thing and they do what you don't expect, then you're left disappointed. And that leads to all kinds of things, bitterness, resentment, all these things. So it's very important to have those conversations at jump.
Yeah. No, I think it is, but I don't think a lot of people understand that. But that was one of the things that when it came to the intentionality of our dating, for whatever reason, I don't know if nobody told us that, but for whatever reason, we had those conversations.
Yeah.
And then I was even brought into like your world with that, because when the time your parents moved back,
oh yeah,
I was all up in your
all
world,
in the family.
which was different for me because my family, I love them. I was raised by my dad, man. I had a great upbringing, and my stepmom as well, but I had a great upbringing. But we wasn't like this close-knit family unit. You know what I'm saying? We ain't eat at dinner tables. We ain't get together
Sunday
every
dinners,
week and all of that. And I meet you, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, like y'all family, like y'all do Sunday dinners. Your sister's grilling me, asking me questions. Then your dad come home, they moved back, and he asking me questions. Your mama asking me questions, and I'm in here like,
grandmama.
I'm like, I'm dating all of y'all.
Facts. But you aren't, but you are, because you're learning. Even if you aren't learning, even if they're not learning you're learning my world. Yeah. You're learning how I was raised, the importance of family and siblings and parents.
And I think that played a factor later on in our marriage too, because it's one thing, like I learned early on in our marriage that she was a daddy's girl.
Facts.
So I had to understand that he was gonna be in my life
regardless,
and in a great way. Much different than my dad. Like
Facts.
My dad, like,
hey girl,
that's it. Like my dad ain't trying to be all intimate, sentimental, or none of that. Mm-hmm. But I knew early on, like, okay, so I gotta like her daddy.
Facts.
Cause he in this. Mm-hmm. Like
he gotta like you a little bit,
like,
at least.
Yeah, like y'all talk, they be on the phone. Like and so that helped me understand early on, like, okay, so family matters to her. Yeah. And the family is involved in her life, which also was like another layer of protection. I was like, I can't get away with nothing. Like, I got to deal with all of them.
All my sisters, my dad.
Mama, grandma.
That was also a point of contention. My dad, because my dad growing up had always been the male that I go to for stuff. In the beginning of our marriage, it would be times where I'd be like, I ask my daddy then, you know what I mean? Like, if you ain't gonna do it, I'm gonna get a dude to do it. What man? My daddy, bruh, chill.
Daddy better not come over with no gas in the car.
But daddies do that.
But again, I think that was important, especially in that initial or that being intentional in dating, because it matters how the in-laws, the in-laws matter. And one of the things that I appreciated about your family was, like, they embraced me. Like, the one thing I thought is her dad wouldn't like me when he learned my past. Mm-hmm. But he didn't care. Like, that didn't affect him, at least not to me, liking me. Now, mama,
yeah,
she still loved me.
Yeah, but she was I would not prefer you.
Yeah,
ain't that what she said?
Listen, when I asked her if I could marry her daughter, she said, you can, but you're not who I would have wanted her to marry. She like, but I love you. Understand, I love you. But I'm just saying, if you asking me my preference, I would have wanted her to marry somebody that didn't have 2 kids already. Facts. That just had a different, you know what I'm saying? And I ate that though. I was like, all right, cool. Because I mean, she still to this day she loves me.
She's one of your biggest supporters.
One of my biggest supporters. But it was just important to see that your family appreciated me and liked me. And I just remember it was time to now get engaged. Like we had finally went through like the process of I got the new job.
Yeah.
I had all of my fleece come back dry.
Okay.
So I'm like, all right, so this is the one. You loved me and wanted to be with me. And I just remember we just literally was like, this. At that point, it was like, it just makes sense.
It just made
It was like, we didn't need a whole bunch more, like, God, give us the other sign. So 6 months after dating, we got engaged. Right around, it was around 6 months.
Mm-hmm. I just did the math on my
and so, funny story is, so I wanted to do it the right way. I was like, I'm going to ask her dad if I can marry her. I thought I was doing it the right way. Apparently I didn't, because we had already went and picked out her ring. We had already bought the ring. so only thing I really was just, I was asking permission, but I guess I really wasn't.
You wasn't.
And so I remember we was literally out, I took him out to eat. Was you with us that day? No, I took him out to eat. And I was like, yeah, I want to ask you if I can marry your daughter. And her dad, you got to understand her dad. Like, so her dad starts asking questions. He like, so wait, you got the ring already? And I'm like, yeah. He was like, she seen it? And I was like, yeah, we picked it out. And he was like, so do I really have an answer or choice here? Like, if I say no, my daughter gonna be mad at me. And I was like, I remember sitting there like, shoot, I messed this up. I thought. So then it got a little contentious at that point because he had wanted me to, when I wanted to propose, he wanted me to wait until grandma's birthday and do it because she would be in town.
Right.
And I didn't want to wait till October something. I wanted December. I wanted to do it then in October. Yeah. And so I didn't wait. I went on my timeline, and you know that none of that man. That did bring a little bit of contention. Like it was a little bit of, it felt like it was a little bit of contention because I think like financial help went away. I mean, it came eventually.
He came at the end,
but it was like at the end. Like, but the whole time it was like, wait, so y'all not giving no money towards this thing?
Y'all ain't helping us out. I'm in college.
So it was like it was a real point of contention. But we worked through that up until it was time to then get engaged.
It is a stormy October night, okay? It's a wonderfully wet day. It's storming. It was bad. Anyway,
I'm just laughing at
school was canceled, all of that things, because I remember it very vividly. And he comes over to my apartment, and so I lived in a duplex. I lived on one floor, my aunt lived on another one, my grandma lived on the first floor. And I don't know, we were having regular conversation, but somehow we got into an argument. I don't know what we was arguing about. I don't know what we were disagreeing about, but we get into an argument. But that's the day he's proposing also. And so this man literally pulls out the ring and says, marry me then.
Yep.
He said, marry me then. And so he throws the ring at me and says, marry me then. And I say, no, I'm not marrying you like that. Absolutely not. So he goes downstairs to talk to my grandma because I don't know why. So they're having whatever kind of conversation they're having. And I am in my room pissed, aggravated, upset about whatever we're arguing about. He comes back upstairs maybe an hour or two later. Like he was gone for a while in my grandma's house. He comes back up. And like some fake apology that didn't feel authentic at all at the time.
Wow, my apology was fake?
It didn't.
Wow.
It felt very inauthentic. If I'm gonna
motives.
You're right. I don't know, but it felt inauthentic to me. And so he pulls his ring, whatever, and I go, oh, so now you want me to marry you, huh? Like that. And so he asked that time, and I said yes.
But to be clear, let's be honest. Let's be clear though. I was already really planning to ask her. Like I had already talked to Melanie.
You did have plans.
Yeah, like there was actual plans put together for that. Mm-hmm. Like I had people meeting us at Zanzibar. Mm-hmm. Like so it wasn't like a fluke like, oh, marry me then. It was like, no, I really was proposing to you that day anyway.
So, no facts. It just was trash the way you did it.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. No, facts.
But the end result, like the dinner that you had planned, that engagement, having some of my favorite people there, that was sweet and showed your love and care and concern. But like the whole, like, you know, dude getting down on the knee, professing love, saying I want to be with you forever. Like I never got all of that. Yeah. Let me just be very clear. I'm still waiting for a real proposal. But maybe that'll happen, you know, at year 10.
I mean, and yet, here we are, 10 years. So this is just proof that the engagement ain't what keep. But real talk though, let's just be honest.
All right.
People spend a ton of money. They do all of these things. They to go on to show it off. And I get that you want to make it special and magical. I'm not knocking that. I do. There's a lot of things even about our wedding that I was like, man, we should have captured better memories and stuff like that. So I get that. Mm-hmm. However, at the end of the day, some of those greatest proposals that everybody loves, they divorced.
They end in divorce.
And we still here.
Facts. So no, I give you that.
So I'm just saying, I knew that. You know, that was part of the blueprint. And so,
sure.
So, but now we're engaged. Mm-hmm. But that's really when contention really started.
Yeah.
It's like once we got engaged, it was like something switched, and it was like now we arguing a lot.
We've been on our neck ever since that day in October.
Right, we was arguing. We had
All
conversations around like
it was a
sorority life. And,
we did.
Yeah, because I really wasn't on it. Like,
Yeah,
like,
you was
I didn't. I was like, I don't know nothing what you talking about.
I mean, I don't disagree now. I don't disagree.
So I wasn't legalistic.
No.
I was right.
Jesus.
But we also started to struggle because we started to relax our boundaries.
Oh,
we
okay.
got engaged.
Yes.
And
not immediately when we got engaged, but
we started
the closer we got to the wedding day.
Started trying to push it. Like even me, like getting off work at like 4 a.m. and coming over to your house and saying like, technically I ain't spending the night with you. Like, but that's what we was doing.
Yeah, and I would get off on Sunday mornings and come to your house to shower and get dressed for church. Yeah. So we could go to church together.
Facts. And I mean, somebody could be watching, but it was like, but no, it was a pushing of the boundaries. And what it did was it started to create deeper romantic sexual desires for you that wasn't always there when we had those clear boundaries, to be honest, it was a couple nights where it was like, you gotta leave now.
Facts.
Like it was nights where I would pray afterwards, like, God, just the fact that it was even could have went there. Like, I remember I used to think I was gonna die.
You thought you was gonna die every
No lie. I used to call her like, man, I just feel like, man, God gonna kill me.
God gonna kill me. I don't wanna go to sleep tonight. I can't go to sleep tonight because I ain't gonna wake up.
Hey bro, listen, I love holiness. I promise you, and I really do want to do right by God.
How can you not love a man who honors his integrity so much that I thought that I wanted to sleep with her that night? I am dying. God gonna smite me.
Hey man, but we would. But a lot of also contentions that will come up, and we'll talk about these later in the podcast about blended families. But we struggle with the idea of what's the family dynamic look
Facts.
like when it's supposed to be God, wife, kids, but I had kids already
before you had a
wife. So in my head, I'm like, it's God, children, you, and in your head, you like, no, it's God, me, them, and we had to like really wrestle with that, and that was a journey.
That continues to be a journey. Yeah. Not in the same way, but just the blended family.
It never goes away.
It doesn't.
And so we had to work through what that looks like, what that means.
We had to remember finances. Remember when I got the car? My SUV? Yeah. And it was a big thing. And we're just dating. And it was a big thing regarding like sharing things and if what's mine is yours and how can I afford this but you don't have access, like it.
Because I was willing. I was like, I'm gonna help you out. I'm like, we about to get married, so I'll help, like, because you ain't want to get the car because you didn't want the note.
I didn't want the note.
And I was like, well, I'll help you with the note, like we about to get married, right? But then but it ain't my car
because I didn't want you to drive it yet.
Right. And I'm like, what?
Because I didn't, not that I didn't want you to drive, I didn't want to drive your car.
Yeah, because you had me in a hoopty.
I had you in a hoopty?
And you wouldn't allow me to get it. Yeah, for years of my life, you had me in a hoopty. Because you didn't want, years of my life, I was riding around in a car that was overheating. You riding around new. I'm out here helping pay for your car, but I had a hoopty. But it was all
we had
good.
to be able to afford it. Sometimes you can't afford two new cars at the same time.
Y'all hear that, right? She got a new one, and I had to be in the hoopty. You know when I was able to finally get a car?
That's the sacrifice that
you know when I was able to finally get a car?
When you went and got it on your own?
My car broke down, and I just went to the dealership and got me a car that day.
Worst decision ever. You had the highest interest payment on a car that was only...
Hold on. Can I say this? Because we're going to get ready after this episode. But I also want to say this. Because when we talk about credit scores, there's a lot of people out here, these new dating books, and I understand there's a formula. But let me just be clear. When you know it, all that intentionality, all of the fleece throwing out made it sure for us that we were supposed to be together. Because we did not do what because when they checked the credit, I had a 430 credit score when we got married. Now, all of these new dating books would say don't be with that man.
Don't marry him.
But here we are, successful,
correct,
married, financially stable. My credit score is not that no more.
Yeah.
And it did not. Now, there were things that we had to overcome because of it. Absolutely. But we overcame them because God was in our relationship. And I only say that to say That's what matters the most.
Yeah.
Is God ordaining this relationship? Is God saying that I have given my yes to that relationship?
My approval.
And I believe that a lot of that, like that right there, is how we got through all of the toughest times of our marriage and our relationship, was that we always went back to, we know that God said do it. Before the wedding, I think 3 days before the wedding, we were literally arguing. It was like, man, we ain't got to do this. Like, it was like 3 days. It was like, we ain't, because planning marriages, weddings are stressful. Yeah. I'm like, we ain't got to do this. We're going, but it was like we were always able to anchor back, like, but we know God said this is it. And that became the foundation of every obstacle and struggle we went through. Was we can always go back, at least for me, I can always go back to those fleets. I prayed to get a better job so I can provide for her, and you gave it. I asked that she would love my kids, and randomly she said, I love your kids. Like, I know without a shadow of a doubt that you told me to marry this woman. And so whatever I'm dealing with, whatever we going through, I got to figure out what to do to push and fight, and where I got to die in order to honor the yes that you gave me.
Yeah. No, that's good. And the one thing that consistently, I think this is where my confirmation was, real talk, is that you never changed up regarding your integrity. Had you have went outside of a boundary, had you intentionally not had integrity, had you had become a liar or been manipulative and showed that, I wouldn't have been so sure and been okay with, he got that. You know what I mean?
So we dated. We had intentionality in our dating, all the way up through the wedding, and we honored our no sex vows until we got married. We honored our no kissing vow until we got married, and we walked across that finish line in a pretty much good way.
I mean, we were good. The wedding day, I don't know about that. That's another day.
Y'all gonna have to tune in next episode to hear about the wedding day, the honeymoon. Cause in next episode, y'all want to tune in. Cause in the next episode, y'all gonna hear about how and why we asked for a divorce when we came back from
next episode.
The honeymoon.
Okay.
Oh yeah. So listen, you definitely want to hit the like button, the notification bell, subscribe, and share. Because because I know a lot of y'all from the first episode been saying, I need to understand how you come back from the honeymoon asking for a divorce.
Not straight 1-1.
Well, guess what? We go tell y'all in the next episode, man. Listen, we thank you guys for tuning in with us today. We hope that we said something that bless you, man. We hope that you've learned something about us from our journey, and we're about to really start to talk about some stuff in the rest of this podcast, and every battle and struggle we had, and how did we actually get over it, man. We really are just asking you guys, man, to hit the like button, hit the notification bell, subscribe, and share, man, and help us get this podcast out to other people, because we believe that it's not just going to bless married couples, but it's also going to bless those who are thinking about getting married. And so again, hit the like button, hit the notification bell, subscribe, share, and tell the world about Tanks Talk Podcast.